the room right now, so go ahead when you're ready.
Hey, Joe, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing good, thanks.
Good.
I guess, just from an overall perspective, what do you make of the job that your units did this year, and what are you guys working on moving into bowl season here?
I think we did a really good job on our coverage units. I think we were, I haven't looked at stats lately, but I think we were top 3 in the country in both kickoff cover and punt coverage, which is obviously pretty fantastic. I'd like to see improvement in the return units. We weren't really good on kickoff return. I'd like to see, I'd like to see us take some steps forward in that area. And then punt return, I don't know how the statistics worked out, but we have a really good returner in Jahan Dotson. We just didn't get that many opportunities for a variety of reasons. But I'd like to see, in general, I'd like to see some improvement in our return areas.
Pascal?
Hey, thank you for your time. I wanted to talk about Jordan Stout. Can you talk about his growth into becoming an elite All-American punter, and moreover, how he fits the change the game model?
Yeah, Jordan's done a great job. He came here really as a kickoff specialist. I knew he could do both, but I didn't realize necessarily that he was that good of a punter. He put a lot of time in the off season, in the weight room with his core strength, with his stretching and those kind of things. And so just seeing him develop, he's got elite leg strength, obviously. And then, from the change the game perspective, I think when you only cover, I think we had 2 kickoff returns against us all year, and I think we gave up 26 or 29 yards on punt return all year, which is just unheard of. I've never seen anything like it in my career. And that's really a tribute to our team, for sure. But it also has a lot to do with the kicker. Obviously on kickoff, that's kind of clear. When you can just eliminate returners, and we face a lot of really good returners in the Big Ten, when you can just eliminate that element of a team, it's a huge advantage. And then punt, again, it's a unit thing because a lot of it's the coverage, but it's also, what's the ball location, what's the hang time, and Jordan's really been elite with those kind of things, which allows your coverage time to get down there. So couldn't be more proud of him. I'm really excited that that he's been with us. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm excited for his future.
Sean Fitz?
Joe, what does it take to be a draftable specialist? You have Jordan right now that we assume is going to be in the draft next year, and seems like the feedback has been pretty good from Senior Bowl, things like that. What does it take to be drafted as a specialist?
It's a little hard because one year I had a guy when I was at Arizona State, we led the country in net punt, and that guy didn't even get into an NFL camp. So it's a very unique, strange position because there's only 32 of them, or was there 32 teams, I believe. So there's only 32 of them in the league. A lot of guys will bounce around. They don't make it for a year and they'll make it the next year. So it's a very, very, very unique position. Also, there's not a lot of injuries. So when guys are in the league, they can last a long time. You'll see 40-year-old punters and kickers oftentimes. So it varies by year. And then what they're looking for is elite level leg strength. That stands out. They're going to look at statistics and those kind of things. But as much with those guys, just like when you're going in from high school to college, going from college to the NFL, they're looking for the mental side of it. There's I wouldn't say a lot, but there's way more guys that have the physical ability to play at that level that don't have the mental ability. So it's trying to see, it's for them, obviously I can't speak for them, but in my experience, it's also seeing the guy that's physically gifted, but how is he mentally? Is he going to be able to handle the mental challenges that come with, the pressure of being in the NFL? But it is really weird, man. I've had some guys that I was sure were going to make it that didn't, and I've had guys that I didn't really think were going to make it that did. So it's a very, I think it's like that at all positions, but it's more like that at specialists for sure.
David Eckert?
Hey, Joe, what's Jake Pittaker's status right now? I know he came back. I think he attempted a field goal there in the Michigan State game. Do you anticipate maybe him getting some time in the ball game, or what's his status right now?
Yeah, we'll evaluate it like we do every week. We chart it and have competition every single week, and there's certainly a competition, but again, it's not any different than any other week. And he's available if we need him. I know he's mentally ready if we need him, and I have a lot of confidence. He's got a lot of experience kicking for Penn State and being very successful.
Sean Fitz?
Do you expect him back next year? Obviously, he didn't play in 4 games this year. He had the red shirt available. Is that a plan? Is that the plan moving forward?
Yeah, as far as the player things like that, I believe Coach Franklin's stance is that we let the players speak on that. So I'm not at liberty to speak on that. But everything that I know about Jake's very, very positive.
Sean?
We didn't get you on Wednesday, to my knowledge at least. But what are your thoughts on Alex Paquetta? What does he bring to the table? And obviously, if you're recruiting a punter on scholarship, it's a guy you probably think pretty highly of.
Yeah, we do think pretty highly of him. Jamie Cole, one of the most respected kicking experts in the country, who does that. He runs a company called Cole's Kicking, does it for a living. He has him ranked as the #1 punter in the country. There's various other people as well, but that's just a prominent one. He's from the same high school as Blake Gillikin, so there's some. I've known about him for a long time. He's known about Penn State for a long time. He's been able to talk to Blake and as far as how we run our program, is he going to be a fit and those kind of things. So I think we eliminated some risk. There's always risk when you just take one guy, but anytime there's that kind of familiarity on both sides with what we're getting as well as what he's getting coming into the program, it helps. But I'm really excited about him. He's also an elite kickoff guy, very similar. I don't want to put too much on his plate. I'm not saying he is Jordan Stout, but very similar in that he has multiple skill set. I think they have him ranked like the 5th or 6th kicker in the country as well. So he's very talented and very mature, and I'm excited to get him here.
Pascal?
Yeah, you mentioned Jordan Stout. Going back to that, how do you think he's grown throughout his time at Penn State, not only on the field, but off of it?
Well, I think he's grown, from a maturity standpoint. That they all do, to be honest with you. You just see Jordan more because obviously he plays more, but just the normal maturity and growth that you see from people going through their college journey. His was unique because he started somewhere else and then he got to come to Penn State, and that provides a unique perspective for him. I think it makes him more appreciative of the way that Coach Franklin runs the program here. We do things what I would consider to be the right way here. And Coach Franklin puts a lot of stock in specialists and special teams, and it's not like that everywhere. So he's able to, to kind of benefit from that, but really proud of his growth. He's already graduated. He takes his academics seriously. He's a leader off the field. It's just been fun watching him, man. But again, not just him. It's typical with that age group of guys, but certainly me being the one that recruited him and stuff, it's been fun to watch.
David Eckert?
Joe, what do you guys look for when you're recruiting a punter like Alex? Are you looking for metrics? Are you looking for projectability? How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, all the above. It was a weird year because you're talking about COVID year where you're not getting to see guys in person. Typically, you want to have guys in camp where you're working with them, individually, and Coach Franklin's able to see him and those kind of things. We weren't able to do that, so so you have to rely a little bit more heavily upon people that you trust in the industry. But that just gives you the physical. Does the guy have the ability to kick the ball as far and as high and all those things as you want it? And then again, just like what the NFL is looking for, I'm looking for the same thing. What guy can transition from, whatever high school they're at to doing that in front of 107,000 people in Beaver Stadium, or doing it on the road at the Big House or in the shoe or wherever you could mention. What guy's going to be able to handle the mental rigors that go with that? It's a really unique position. It's undervalued. Obviously, I'm a special teams coordinator, so it's valuable to me. But a lot of people have no idea how big of an impact a really good or a mediocre or a bad punter or kicker can have on a game. Jordan Stout's kickoffs and punts this year, there is no doubt in the world that he helped us win multiple games this year. By what never happens, right? By the kickoff return that never happens, the great field position that they get because of a good return, or the punt return that never happens because of his great hang time. So, you're looking for the physical gifts, but again, for me, the physical piece is easy. There's only 5 or 6 kids in the country that are typically on a typical year that are good enough. And then, who's going to fit in our program the best? Who's going to fit at Penn State the best in all areas, academically, socially. And again, like I already said, who can handle the different weather conditions? It was snowy at Michigan State, then it was 85 against 80 or whatever it was against Auburn. So trying to find the mental piece is the biggest challenge. And it was especially challenging during that COVID time. But I'm really confident that we got the right guy, and I'm excited about it.
Sean Fitz.
What went into that evaluation in terms of was it all video, virtual, things like that? When did you find out about Alex and kind of go from there? I mean, because that's got to be nearly impossible to go about and figure out, besides how far he can kick the ball, what can go into that.
Yeah, lots of Zoom calls, lots of phone calls, but I knew about Alex. Literally, the very first high school I ever went when I was hired here in 2019 was Blake's school, so I already knew about Alex. So I've known him for lots of years. It wasn't like this just happened over COVID. It was just weird because usually you have them in camp in June, and that's kind of the big evaluation because you want to rely on other people in the industry that you respect, but there's nothing like your own in-person evaluation. And as much as anything, the head coach to see it. Like I have all these contacts in the special teams world, and through me, Coach Franklin has them, but it's different when he sees them, when he sees it with his own two eyes, right? So it was just unique that way. But again, I think we were really thorough because the process went back so long. I mean, it's very similar to recruiting quarterbacks. Like you identify them in 8th and 9th grade. Doesn't mean you can talk to them because of the rules and those kind of things, but you're already aware of them. As far as video goes, I'm not a big watch specialist on video guy, which is different than a lot of people. A lot of people do watch the video. I'm not saying I don't watch it. I do, but you don't know the field conditions. You don't know if the video's cut. I could go out, Sean, I could go out of you and you and I in over a year, we could make a good video, believe it or not. And I've never seen you kick or punt, but now that might be a bit of an exaggeration, but you get my point. Like we could go and have the wind at our back and show great punts that maybe it's because the wind is blowing 40 miles an hour in that direction. And maybe you cut them. You did 2 out of 10 good balls Tuesday and 1 out of 20 on Wednesday, but you're cutting it and putting it together. So it is a little bit tricky that way. Nothing like working with them in person when you can. And again, relying on contacts. I've been doing this for, I guess, 25 years or something. And over all those years, just developing contacts with guys that I really, really trust their evaluation. And that's all they do for a living. That's a lot of these kicking guys that have the companies, they do that all year. Like that's their expertise. I know kicking and punting very well, obviously, but that's not solely my expertise. I also have to coach the kickoff return unit and the kickoff unit and the outside linebackers and the nickels. So, relying on those guys where that's their true expertise is super, super valuable.
Neil Rudell.
Yeah. Hey, Joe. I was just curious if you could take us into a snapshot of a special teams coach, just kind of after the fact and how the process works. A couple of big moments this year I'm particularly curious about. The fake field goal against Michigan. I mean, when you guys get back in the office, I mean, do you say, why'd we do that? Or it was there, we just didn't execute it well? And I'm also curious about even the timeout at Michigan State. How much input do you have into that process during the game?
I don't have a ton during the game. Coach Franklin and I will meet every Monday night of game week, and I present the game plan that I've spent the last couple of days for him and show him where I think we have, areas where we can gain an advantage, whether it's a fake field goal or what our field goal range is. I go through each phase. Okay, here's punt, kickoff return, kickoff cover, what we call PBR, punt block return, field goal and field goal block. And I go through all the different, I go through personnel, our personnel, their personnel. And again, what their basic scheme is, what our scheme should be against it to give us an advantage, what the strengths are, what the weaknesses are. And it's pretty detailed. It's a couple-hour meeting. And then we'll go and do a game. And my input in the game, for instance, on a fake field goal, is we're looking is the look we saw on film that we think that fake is good to, are they giving us that look, right? Against Michigan, it didn't work, so it's not a good call, but it was there and it should have worked. It was a bad throw. If you watch the film, it's very, very clearly there. But coach is going to make that decision, on game day. Again, I'm going to give input, say, Coach, I think it's there, or Coach, they're giving us a different look. I don't think it's there. But it's really all presented during the week ahead of time. And then like every area of our program, we're going to quality control. So come Sunday, we're going to look at what was the call on the fake field goal. Was it there? Was it a good call? Did we not execute, or was it a bad call? And try to really, I look at myself first and say, what could I have done better? Did I make a mistake? I mean, I'm just a person like everybody else. I make mistakes as well. And if I made a mistake, how can I fix it? How can I rectify? How can I do better in the future? If the execution wasn't good, Why wasn't the execution good? Was the right player in there? We're really going to hold again, starting with me, I'm going to hold myself accountable first. Timeouts is really a coach Franklin thing. He controls timeouts. Sometimes the offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator will ask for one. I don't use those on special teams. If you're using timeouts on special teams, it's usually not a good thing. Like against Michigan State, I think he was trying to run the clock down and was a little bit worried that maybe the clock was going to run out before the snap got off. Those conditions were pretty difficult. And I don't think he wanted to make sure we didn't add any, I can't speak for him, but he would want to make sure we didn't add any additional yardage to that field goal. But certainly, yeah, we're going to self-assess everything. And again, the blame's going to fall on me first, as it should.
Mike Portman.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Joe. I have a question and then a quick follow-up. Joe, what's your strategy? You did a lot of fair catches on kickoff returns this year.
Yeah, well, the strategy is going to be, looking at the opponent, looking at their kicker, looking at their hang time, looking at their coverage unit, looking at what other people have done against them, and then looking at where we're at. How good do I feel about the returner? How good do I feel about all the different matchups across the front line? I try to eliminate risk for our offense. What I didn't want to do in games is I did not want to give our offense bad field position. I thought that would not be advantageous to the team against certain units. And it can be a little bit frustrating, to be quite honest with you. I've always had really good kickoff return units, like really good kickoff return units. But at the same time, I'm not going to be arrogant or beat our head into the wall. If I think the best thing for us to do is to fair catch it, to give us the ball on the 25-yard line and eliminate risk, that's what I'm going to do. And when you watch college football, like we do, like I do, there's a lot of times that, again, it's not that exciting of a call, but there's a lot of times that's the right call. You eliminate penalty risk, you eliminate turnover risk. And again, if a team's got a really good kicker with really good hang time and good coverage, you're wise. I won't name a specific team, but I can think of a couple where going into the game, no one had returned a kick to the 25 against them yet. And people getting tackled, and I charted. So people were getting tackled on the 12, the 13, the 18, the 19. And so you start saying, well, as I look at this, you could break one. You could, obviously, but you could also say, hey, we're going to take the ball on the 25 and we're not going to risk starting on the 12 or starting on the 13, which I didn't think would be most advantageous for us. And then you're gonna factor in where you at with the offense and where you at with the defense as well.
Well, and then with the follow-up quickly, when was Jake ready to go, and what went into the decision to have him kick at the end of the Michigan State game and not sooner in the season?
He's been ready to go all season. The decision to have him kick at Michigan State is Jordan had missed. He missed an extra point and a field goal, and he's doing a lot for us. And the conditions were tough that day, and I felt like Coach and Franklin and I both felt like, Jake's ready. He's done it. Again, it's something that's assessed every single week. You always have to remember the most popular guys on the team are the backup quarterback and the backup kicker, right? Because it's easy to say, well, what would that guy have done? But it's not done flippantly. I have total confidence in Jake, and I'm not just saying that. I really do. We just chart it every week, and it's literally just a chart, and whatever the chart tells us, that's what gives us the best